Hey, welcome back to the Girl Be Free podcast. I'm your host, Siobhan, your clarity cultivator and founder of Be Free Project. I help women who are ready to flourish, feel fulfilled, and be free to show up for themselves. I am extremely passionate about community, sisterhood, and personal growth. So if that's your jam, you are in the right place. And now let's get into the show. Hey, I am back with another Chasing Free interview, and today I have the pleasure of interviewing my friend Denise Sumbry. This is such a beautiful interview that you're going to really enjoy, and I'm going to go ahead and read her bio and enjoy the conversation. Oh, and by the way, make sure you have a notebook and pen out because you're going to take lots of notes, and be sure to connect with me on Instagram and let me know your key takeaways. Denise Sumbry is Chief Energy Officer and Reiki Master of Positive Life Haven, Cleveland, Ohio's premier positive energy oasis for the conscious mind, body, and spirit. Denise is a spiritual life coach and energy healer, guiding soul seekers within by illuminating their spiritual path to healing, self discovery, and transformation. She shares positive interventions, offers practical strategies and holistic tools to elevate and sustain a healthy and vibrant frequency to thrive in life. I'm so glad to have her on the show, and I know you're going to enjoy it. Can't wait to hear your feedback. Now, enjoy the show. So, share with me what inspired you to pursue your dreams and begin creating the life you want.
Oh, Siobhan, that's a really good question. I have to be very transparent, though, with my response in the sense that I've always had an innate ability to align and manifest my desires, the life that I want. Even when I reflect back, excuse me, as, a teenager, wanting to get the new Jordans and the clothes and looking cute in high school. Like I had to take the initiative. As a single mom, I actually had my son at 19 years old. So in that segment of my life, brought upon the desire to be independent. I didn't want to stay under my mom's roof. I really wanted to have my own place and a home to raise my son. So I knew at that point I needed to go and step into my corporate career, to live on my own and support my son. And that brought additional desires like, oh, the world of traveling and new experiences because I was making more money, and meeting new people and new connections, that brought along new experiences. And then from there, I knew that I was seeking for love, a companion, someone that I could, grow old with and share the responsibility of raising a child. And then that's when I connected and met with my husband and got married. And then from there, we bought a home, and he opened up his own business, and then I stepped and leaned into entrepreneurship and different ventures until I actually leaned into taking the entrepreneur road and stepping into my purpose as an energy healer and spiritual life coach. When I reflect, even through the young age and through adulthood, um, I have to say that I've always had the mindset to put my mind to something and take the action and initiative and those key components, key steps for that particular thing in order for it to manifest into my life.
I love that. Now, did you know from like from when you were young that you were an energy healer? Like, was there something that happened, like spiritually, where you always felt connected, or you knew like your purpose was what it is today?
Yeah, so I think as a child, I never really like saw or felt it in myself.
Mhm.
My grandmother and my father could see it in me and would tell me, right? But I'm
Mhm.
like, "Oh, y'all need to expand on that. I don't even know what you're talking about. But as I stepped into adolescence, and some of the positive feedback that I was getting, even as a young teenager into um, my early 20s, that my energy, everyone's like, oh, your energy is so beautiful. People coin me the nickname, and I know you share this experience, sunshine, right?
Mhm,
Oh, you just
mhm.
bring so much light and
Yes.
good vibes to this space or to this connection. I would say the the one experience where I had the light bulb moment
Mhm,
for me was working in corporate America. I had a team member. This was my first team that I was supervising. And the young lady, for all my supervisors and managers out there, that role is all about you're the supervisor, you're the manager, but then you're a psychologist,
mhm.
you're,
Yeah.
you're, you're like a confidant, etc. And I had this young lady who just was sharing some experiences, and I went into, unbeknownst to me at that time, energy mode, energy healer mode, and just talking with her and giving guidance and exuding a flow of energy to her to boost essentially her self-esteem and to
Mhm,
boost the strengths that I saw in her, but she couldn't see or feel. And I worked with this young lady um, a little bit over a year, and within that year time frame, she had the most successful year
mhm.
in her career at the company. She since has moved on to several positions and just living a happier life. When I started working with her, she was like, I'm in a dead end job and not going anywhere, And she came into my office and she sat down and she just exuded so much appreciation and gratitude. And she looked me in my eyes and she said, Denise, you changed my life.
Mm, mm.
And initially when she said that, sometimes you're like, wow, that's like a powerful
Yeah. Oh my
that's a
gosh.
little bit hard to accept sometimes.
Yes.
And for that being really like the first time where I could genuinely feel that someone like meant that at their core. And I simply said her, hey, I was just a vessel for you. You did the
Mhm,
work, right? You listened, you took initiative, you did the work, right? I was just a guide to illuminate
mhm.
that path for you. And but after that conversation, the light bulb went off and I heard it loud and clear. Denise, this is what you're supposed to be doing.
Yes, I love that. And I've had a similar experience. And I feel we've talked about this before where, someone shared with me that I changed their life. And it is heavy because you're like, I was just showing up being me. But to know
Yes,
that you changed someone's life from one point to another just by showing up and being your most authentic self, that affirms and validates your purpose and that you are here to really raise the vibration of other people just by walking into your purpose. And I share this on the podcast all the time. Like, there's no better feeling than knowing that you're doing exactly what you were called to do. And it's obvious because you had that whole experience with that young lady, and she has exceeded in the company as a result of you showing up. I think that's so
absolutely.
beautiful. So tell me, how does your business line up with your purpose in life?
Yeah. So as you mentioned in that beautiful intro, thank you, by the way. My purpose in life is to be a guide to soul seekers, helping them go within by illuminating their spiritual path to self-discovery, healing, and transformation. And my business, which is Positive Life Haven, I've cultivated that as a space, um, to be specific, as a positive energy oasis for the conscious mind, body, and spirit, where people can come in and have a variety of holistic and energy options to help with things that they may be going through, whether it's stress, whether it is anxiety and depression, whether it's simply to have a partner in this journey called
Mhm.
life. Because we know that when you're doing the inner work, when you're doing the soul healing, the soul searching, it can be very lonely.
Yes. Oh, yes.
very lonely. And, one thing that I, stress to my clients is that you don't have to do this alone. You don't have to
Mhm.
walk that journey alone. So with the Haven, I do Reiki energy healing that again helps with stress reduction and brings forth deep relaxation. Clients get uh, a beautiful energetic boost, especially when they come in
Mhm.
feeling tired and just from being tied down from work, family, and the demands of life. Um, and even my clients who are doing the inner work, the inner healing, who are really looking for more clarity and a spiritual connection, or maybe they have self identified, a blockage that they know,
Mhm.
hey, I know I need some inner child healing. Or for instance, with your guidebook, The Motherless Child, mother wounds, right? They
Yes,
know,
yeah.
they have the conscious awareness that there is a blockage directly related to a life experience that they've had, that they can come to see me and help energetically move and clear that from their energetic field. I also do spiritual life coaching where I work with women on a week to week basis, addressing some of these things that create imbalances within their energetic centers within their body. When we talk about boundaries, not having enough boundaries or
Mhm.
too rigid boundaries, etc. Disorganization in life, right? Maybe there is some things that you're not accepting physically about yourself, working with these women to talk through that and really guiding them and allowing them to tap into their inner being and their soul, because all the answers are there.
Yes, 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 yes. I love that. And I've had several Reiki sessions, and I'm grateful to have you as my friend as well, because we get to have these conversations all the time. And I agree that you need someone who is spiritually sound to partner with you, because doing life alone is not fun. And
Mhm.
I think what makes like anyone that comes into your presence, and you've been to so many of the Be Free meetups, and every time, like, I get a chance, I'm always throwing, shouting your name out. But many of the people who have come to the meetups or they're part of the Be Free Inner Circle and have experienced whether a Reiki session or coming to your soulful conversation or sacred soul conversations, or just going to buy crystals from you, like they can feel your energy. Like, and even someone was just recently telling me, like, your hugs, like the way that you
Yeah,
hug is just so warm, where and that's how you know that you're in purpose, when you just, as you mentioned earlier, like it just exudes out of you, and it's like it's
yeah.
not anything that you have to make up, you're just being, and then other people are able to experience that. And every session that I've had as it relates to Reiki, there has been more and more clarity for me that has really helped me overall. So I'm grateful for you. So, so very grateful. So tell me, what do you enjoy most about living life on your own terms? Because obviously you work in corporate America, but you're also running your business part-time as well.
Yeah. So, and um, I was able, that's one thing too, I was able to manifest actually going part time
Hmm.
at my corporate gig so that I can spend more time, with my family as well as my business. And I think at the end of the day, this is a really, really good question. Um, what I enjoy most is that I have a choice. I have choices. Can't no one tell me or force me to do anything I don't want to do, period. Yes, there may be some situations where I may have to compromise or negotiate, but even in that, I'm making a conscious decision to do so. Um, I think about just my life throughout the years, being able to kind of step away from things or reduce or decrease from things that are
Mm-hmm.
unaligned with me mentally, emotionally, spiritually, or physically. That goes for, the different corporate careers that I've had throughout my life, relationships, etc. And even to the listeners, when you think about things that you're in the midst of right now that feels unaligned, right? Know that at the end of the day, it's a conscious choice
Yes. Oh, yes.
to stay in that element. And without any judgment, right? It's okay. It's okay. You may have to accept, right? There's many times that I've had to accept, the choice that I'm making to stay in something that may be unaligned for me. And then there's been those situations where I know that I'm at a point where I can make a decision and make the choice to shift and change.
And I think there has to be more conversation around choice because I don't think people pay attention to that enough, right? Like everything that you do is a choice. Every single
Everything.
thing, and so when you want your life to be different, you get to choose to make it different. And if you are not doing anything, you're still making a choice. You know what I mean? Whether you make a
Exactly.
decision in your mind or you're just doing it as it comes natural, you're still choosing to do something. And so the goal is always to choose the life that you want. And I don't think people realize the power that they have within to make the right choice, to be able to be free, right? To live out their
Hmm.
purpose. And they stay in this stagnant space waiting for somebody to choose for them or waiting for someone to give them permission and not realizing that they have the power to choose. So important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there is, I swear, like, it's so much beauty also when you decide to make a choice in something that's pivotal, right? Pivotal point in your life. And to do so without guilt, without worry, right? Without the fear of retaliation or judgment, right? That even brings a sense of power for you to step confidently into a decision and choice that you're making, no matter what anyone else has to say or think about it.
Yes, I love that. I love that a lot. Now, describe a great success that you've had, and this could be something big or small so far that you've had, whether in your personal life and or your business.
You know what? I would have to say launching my business, Positive Life Haven, and sticking with it has been a major success. And it's an ongoing
Mm-hmm.
success. And honestly, success for me is not a destination or an endpoint. It's truly a journey.
Yes.
Like, there's successes all around. Sometimes you just have to stop, observe, and acknowledge,
Mm-hmm.
right, how much one or yourself has accomplished. And I think for me, launching the Haven in the midst of, you know, so much external factors like work and family and personal things, emotional things going on, and still be in business and growing, thankfully.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the Haven will be celebrating 3 years in February.
Yay.
Yes, 3 years in February and 2 years in April at our physical location. I'm just in awe of that, in
Mm-hmm.
awe, in all of it. So I would say that is one of my successes that I'm truly, truly grateful and happy about.
And it's been beautiful to watch, like just to see how everything is coming together and how much you've grown as a person and as a business owner and being a staple in the city, of, the go-to in my eyes as it relates to Reiki and, even the sacred conversations. Am I saying sacred?
Sacred
Like,
conversations,
yeah,
yeah.
even those meetups are so powerful. And I love how intimate they are, and the women that you gather to have these conversations that you may not feel comfortable having in other spaces, you know?
Right.
When we're talking about the full moon and, being in alignment and setting intention and, the conversations that we have, like, I think that that is an amazing success. And if I'm not, and correct me if I'm wrong, you've been selling out. You've only been having them for, there's been several of them or whatever, but you've been selling
Hmm.
out, like packing out the room and having these beautiful conversations.
Yes, even just hearing you talk through that, like I have the biggest smile on my face right
Aw.
now. Because yeah, and it's so beautiful because most major decisions that I make in my business, like that I launch out into the world, is spirit led for me.
Mhm.
And Sacred Conversations was just one of those things that I had an all knowing that it was something that I had to bring forth. And with my best friend, shout out to Reva with
Hey.
Celestial Percipient, she's a certified astrologer. And we talk about like networking and our connections. Bringing her on to speak about the astrological aspects of what's going on in the cosmos around the full moon and being able to
Yes.
tailor it specific to the attendees,
Mhm.
um, and their astrological DNA. And then for myself to speak through just the overall energy of what the moon represents and the energy, and tying it into how these women and ourselves show up for ourselves, for our families, for um whatever they have going on career wise too, basically showing up in your day to
Mhm.
day, and how to do that and use that to your advantage. It's been a true blessing. And yes, you are correct. We had our first Sacred Conversations in August, and we've sold out every month with the exception of
Yes.
November, because we didn't have one in November. Her and I
Mhm.
took over Miami for a little
Yes.
vacation.
Come on, Miami.
Yeah, for a little vacation for her birthday. But yeah, and so our next full moon Sacred Conversation, which we still have a couple tickets left, is next Friday on the 10th. So yeah, and now we're gonna also incorporate new moon
Oh,
Sacred Conversation,
yes.
so they'll be bi-weekly.
Okay, come through bi-weekly. And what I also love too, what I've witnessed from attending several of them, is that everyone is so connected. Like when
Yes.
you hear other people's stories and as we share and all that jazz, like everyone is really all connected. Like there's always so many similarities in a room. And then it starts a conversation that you're able to connect with women even afterwards. So I absolutely love that. And I'll make sure that I link to your website and all that jazz. So even if this episode airs after the one that's happening on the 10th, they can check
Hmm.
out your website to see the up and coming events that you're going to have. So
Oh yeah. And that's another good point too. With the women that come in the room, they even if they don't know each other, they leave out connected.
Mhm.
And as you mentioned, just talking about some of these things that are, as you mentioned, not comfortable talking with anyone else. These women, they may have one friend, right, that gets it, right? What I
Mhm.
mean by that is talking about the spirituality aspect, talking about ancestral type rituals that may be deemed, outside of religious beliefs, but really getting down to the organic and making it more normal, right? Part of your spiritual practices and holistic things that you can tap into every day without the dogma behind it or
Mhm.
feeling conscious about it.
I love that. And your space is a part of my toolkit. When I think about the things that I put into practice as it relates to me becoming the best version of myself, like Reiki and your events, like and just having conversations with you on a day-to-day basis, like it just makes it's a part of my toolkit. amongst other things as well. So I'm very grateful for you. And like your events, that's what I have for the Be Free meetups, where you may come in there not knowing a single person in the room, but you leave feeling like these women are your sisters. And that is another reason that I feel like you know how you're operating in your purpose, because you're able to gather women together, make them feel so comfortable in a judgment-free space and not even want to leave after it's over, and then they are able to build these connections with you not even being a part of it anymore. And I love that. I love that a lot. So share with me, what has been your biggest challenge as a business owner?
Another very good question. So the biggest challenge has been doing all of the divisions and departments single-handedly.
Girl, say it again. It's a lot, isn't it? Oh my goodness. Yes.
It is, it is astronomical. And when you talk about like having to prioritize and really manage your time accordingly and doing things that really aren't your purpose, like you
Mm-hmm.
that aren't your purpose, that you could actually be utilizing this time doing, for me, doing healing, doing spiritual life coaching, right? That's been the biggest thing. But I'll tell you one thing, Siobhan, I have come to the end of the road. The street name control. I am ready to release control of these different aspects that I've kind of had, you know, nestled close and near and dear to my heart, and I will be bringing on help in 2020. I know in order to continue to grow and reach to grow my reach and revenue, right? I must bring on key individuals to help me with that. And I'm open to receive and allowing that to come to fruition this year, hands down.
Yes, I love that. And that is how we're going to grow, right? When you bring on people who are experts, if you will, or really good at something to do the things that you don't want to do or don't need to be doing, with your time. And
Yes.
I'm in the process right now of building for the first time ever. And I've been off and on doing this over the years, but now I'm really serious about it, like you, because it's like I can only grow but so far, but building out the processes in my company. So when it comes to podcasting, when it comes to the Be Free Inner Circle, like step by step by step, on what needs to happen, so that when I do bring someone on, here's the process. Let's have a conversation. Tell me what you're great at, and we can just pass this stuff right on over. But I've dropped the ball so many times before with bringing people on and not doing my part to make sure that everything was together. And I've really been spending a lot of time, like every day, okay, these are the steps. Every time I do
Mhm.
something, put that process down, so then that way it makes it easier to bring someone on and kind of go over what you've already been doing. And I know you're familiar with that. I've been using Asana, which has been really, really helpful for mapping that out.
Love Asana. Love
Yes,
it.
yes, yes. So tell me, what keeps you motivated on days when you feel overwhelmed?
You know, first of all, when I'm feeling an emotion that is not more on the pleasant end of the spectrum, right? So for me, when I'm overwhelmed, it brings upon additional feelings such as like anxiety and anxiousness and racing thoughts, right? And I just kind of get discombobulated. I know that that itself is rooted in something else, such as maybe I overextended myself, right? Or I set too many expectations for myself for the day. Um, so for me, when I'm feeling overwhelmed, I have to I take a step back to identify, well, why? Why am I feeling overwhelmed? What is it in this moment that is driving that feeling? And getting understanding behind that, and so that I'm able to now decipher, well, how am I going to move the needle to get myself to a better, stable and emotional space. So what I do for that is I tap into my spiritual practices. So after I have that understanding of what is driving the overwhelming feeling, then I take a moment to either, do 5 minutes of breath work,
Mm.
right? Being more mindful, or maybe even some meditation, right? I don't care if it's even 5 minutes. The intention is to bring myself to a more grounded and mindful state. I may even step away and do a power walk. I love getting outdoors and walking and just really utilizing all my senses, feeling the cool air against my skin, looking at the beautiful birds, and what am I hearing? The fresh air that I'm breathing in. Again, another mindful practice for me. As a crystal energy teacher and healer, I'm going to some stones. I may reach for my garnet or my amethyst based off of what, is really driving that unpleasant emotion that I may be feeling. But I think the key for me to help put me in a position to get back on track is to really access or assess what's the root of the overwhelming feeling. What do I need in that moment? And what are my spiritual practices that I'm going to implement to help shift that needle to a better emotional state?
And I love how you customize what doing the work looks like for you. And that is a reason why I'm having this series on the podcast so other women can hear what doing the work looks like. Because I feel like sometimes people hear that, but they don't know how. But you get to customize it in your own way when you get to know yourself, right? And what you want and what you need. And so going for a walk and pulling out your crystals, doing breath work is all beautiful things that you can do to get yourself back to a positive mindset, and I love that. And it's really, and all of those things are free, right? It's nothing that you
Yes.
have to go out and invest money in. You just have to be intentional, with
Yes.
doing it. And I love that. I love when the guests come on and share how they're doing the work, because now it can be an inspiration of someone else who may have felt confused or don't know where to start. That's where you start. You start by meditating. You start by breathing, going for a walk, and just allowing yourself to be, and kind of move forward from there.
Yeah, and it's knowing to have what I like your spiritual satchel, right? You have
Hmm.
these, I don't, 5 to 10 things in your spiritual satchel that you can reach in and pull out in that moment that you need a mindset shift or an emotional shift to help. Again, it's not to simply go from one unpleasant emotion all the way to the extreme or the other end of the spectrum, but the ease and just moving the needle one, two,
Yes.
three, four, over. That's progress. That is positive movement in the right direction to help with that shift mentally and emotionally.
I love that. And what I tend to do more often, especially over the last several weeks, I've been journaling every day, sometimes multiple times a day, and going back and reading what I wrote, and just really reflecting in that moment has been eye-opening, really, really eye-opening. So that's just a part of it, the other things that I've shared as it relates to my toolkit or satchel, if you will,
Mhm.
of things that
Mhm.
I pull on when it's time to get myself centered. So share with me, what is your biggest fear and how do you overcome your fears?
You might be surprised. I can't remember if I shared this with you or not, but public speaking has been a huge fear for me over the years. I recently, I don't know, maybe over the last 8 months or so, really started doing the inner work on the root cause behind it.
Hmm.
And I directly related to an incident that I had in my childhood. I can remember it like the back of my hand, and just doing the healing in that and providing TLC to little Denise at that time. And also for me, fast forward to current reality, just not overly obsessing with being perfect with my
Hmm.
words, and the assumption that are people going to pick up what I'm putting down,
Hmm.
the fear of the critics or the judgment. So that's something I've actually been actively working on, and even preparing for this podcast. I'm proud of just doing this with such grace and ease.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and I've actually emotionally and mentally have felt the shift even with this engagement and a recent speaking engagement where I'm not experiencing the unpleasant mental and emotional state when it comes to public speaking anymore. And I'm thrilled, over the moon for that.
Yay, and I'm proud of you. I'm
Thank
proud
you.
of you of or I'm proud of you for pushing past, that uncomfortable feeling and showing up for yourself. But the key thing that you said is that you've been doing the work, right?
Hmm.
So working
Hmm.
on it to get to this place where you do feel more comfortable. And I feel like a lot of people can, I know I can relate. Sometimes I'm like, did I say that right? Did that come off the way that I wanted to? Oh, I wonder how did they receive it? I'm like, you know what? You did your best in that moment.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, I'm overthinking it in my head and everything was good. But so I can totally relate to that as well.
Oh yeah, and people have always like when I've shared that with them, they're like, "Really? You were up
Hmm.
there? You did not look like it." I said, "I may not look like it, but internally, honey, things was going crazy."
Yes, exactly, exactly. I can
But
relate.
we yeah, can hide it well, but now it's just it's been a nice smooth transition. So,
Yay. Okay, so tell me, what is the most important thing that you've learned about yourself recently?
I would say it's for me um not not to forget about myself and my own healing
Hmm.
and practicing what I preach.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Um, being being a healer, being an entrepreneur, and still having life going on outside. Uh, Things can get very busy. Time can get sucked up very
Hmm.
quickly, and knowing that I must be consistent in setting aside intentional time to ensure that I am putting my spiritual wellness, my mental wellness, my emotional wellness as a priority, as a priority, and not deviating from that because it can be very easy to do, very
Hmm.
easy to do, very easy. And I have seen where I have neglected and what the consequences have been behind that. So I would say that is the major lesson that I've learned over the course of the year to no matter what, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, you know, our task list, our day to day can be very consumed.
Hmm.
And you have to make sure that you are putting your self care, your spiritual practices, as well as you making yourself a priority at some point in your day,
Hmm.
period,
And
and being consistent in that.
yes, and that's something that I talk about on the podcast all the time. Like, you have permission to make yourself a priority without feeling guilty. And when you start to feel overwhelmed and burned out, you have to self check, right? Like, well, wait, how did I pour into myself today?
Yes.
Because 9 times out of 10, you probably didn't. And that is why you're feeling burned out because you've been giving, giving,
Hmm.
giving to everybody else but yourself. And again, like you said, whether you're an entrepreneur, you work in corporate, you're a mom, you're a partner, whatever, like we as women just give so much of ourselves. And oftentimes our cup is so empty when we don't have anything else to give, when you should be giving to yourself first and know that that's okay to do, you know?
Yes. Yes. And I always like to start my day off with a morning ritual. That's most important. At least starting your day, right?
Hmm.
But then also incorporating an evening ritual as well, where you're able to step aside before you conclude for the day, right? And show yourself some TLC, to maybe sit in silence, maybe to journal, maybe to pray, right? Express gratitude. Start and end your day with an intentional amount of time that is dedicated just to you.
I love that. I love that. Now, what advice would you give to someone just starting out? And this could be if they're just starting out with a side hustle or starting their own business or just with the personal growth journey. Like what advice would you give someone?
Yeah, so this can kind of go in both sectors. Most cases, when we set a desire, right, or we have an end goal, or we know we want to accomplish something, um, whether that's in a business, entrepreneur, or even how you want to stand at at the end of your spiritual or personal growth and development, right? It's a journey. It's a
Hmm.
journey, and you got to respect the journey. Sometimes we can get a little too caught up. When you think about the alphabet, you have A as your starting point, and then you have Z, which is that end goal, end point, vantage point, etc. Sometimes we're so focused on getting to Z and everything that it's going to take to get to Z that we become overwhelmed. We get anxious. We want to give up, right? It just becomes too much. We're doing the walk alone, etc. I like to tell people, hey, it's okay to set your Z, right? But
Hmm.
you're at A. So just focus on the next logical step in your journey. What does B look like? Okay, or maybe you want to think through B, C, and D. That's fine. But don't get so far ahead that you become overwhelmed by thinking the whole thing through and trying to get to that end point when it's really a journey. It's a journey.
Hmm.
And knowing that you don't have to walk the journey alone, whether that's entrepreneurship, whether that's your climb up the corporate ladder, whether it is, your inner work, healing. You don't have to do it alone. Look to your right, look to your left, look in front of you, look behind you. Who are some key players, right, that are able to help or support you moving from B, C to D and onward? And don't forget to leave a little bit of room for surprise, a little bit of room for
Yeah.
synchronicity. Because when you put a desire out there, the universe is going to conspire to give it to you, and that is
Hmm.
through people, places, and things. So having the being aware, making sure that you remain conscious to the serendipities that are coming your way that align with your next logical step and ultimately that end goal, and being in a mode of receiving, being in the mode of allowing. You can't ask and then when someone is offering help or support or help, free money, whatever, and you're like,
Hmm.
oh no, 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 that's okay, you don't have to, no, no, no. Now you're contradicting your desire. Now you're
Yes.
contradicting the momentum. You're slowing the vibration for you to get to what that vantage point is. Stay in a mode of receptivity, allowing, and just be consciously aware of everything, people, places, and things that are aligning for you so that you can seamlessly take the next step ultimately to what that end goal is for you.
I love, love, love all of that. I love it a lot. Now tell me, what book would you recommend the Girl Be Free listeners to read?
I would recommend two books. They're both from Esther and Jerry Hicks.
Oh,
So,
yes.
yeah, so it's from the Teachings of Abraham. Ask and it is given. I love this book because, the title itself, to sum it up, we do very good with setting an intention, thinking it through, taking action, right?
Mhm.
But we haven't really like sat down and simply asked. So this book really puts the asking piece in perspective. Ask and it is given. And then their second book is The Astonishing Power of Emotions, letting your feelings be your guide.
Mm.
You know, emotions play a big part in manifesting. The magical trio that I always encourage people to have in alignment. Your thoughts should match with what you're doing and how you're feeling. When I just talked about like the contradictory, in the vibration, right? You
Mhm.
got to believe and feel that this thing is going to manifest
Yes.
for you.
Mhm.
But if you have any type of doubt or unworthiness in that desire, just to name a two, then that is slowing down that momentum of that coming to fruition for you. That's unalignment with what you're thinking and what you're doing. The feeling, your emotions play a big part in manifesting what your heart's desires. So, The Astonishing Power of Emotions by Esther and Jerry Hicks.
I love that. And I'll make sure that I link to both books in the show notes. I do have the first book that you mentioned. I have not finished it yet, but it will be finished this year.
Yes.
But yeah, I would definitely link to both. So thank you for sharing those. And then my final two questions: what does being free mean to you?
You know, being free means to me is simply knowing that even in the times of darkness, even in the time where you may not be emotionally or mentally feeling your best or thinking your best, almost like when we think about that butterfly in the cocoon, right? Nestled
Hmm.
in there. Um, Going back to making a conscious choice to do something about it and making that happen and coming out of the darkness into the light in different areas and segment of life, that is very freeing to me.
Hmm.
We know that the work, as long as you have breath in your body, there's always going to be work to do.
Yes.
It is what it is. And to be able to do the work, however, and grow to a point where you're able to be in flow, or the ebb and flow as life experiences happen, and it not shake you off
Hmm.
track,
Yeah.
that is freeing to me.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. And that key thing, because when life hits, it hits, right? And many times people let those hits keep them in a stuck and stagnant place. And
Mm-hmm.
so to know that, going back to what we were talking about earlier, like you have the power to choose. You get to choose that this
Yep.
situation, this circumstance is not going to keep me stuck because I'm choosing to be free. I'm choosing to live the life that I want. And in doing that, I get to create my own peace. So I love that a lot. I love it. All
Yeah.
right, share a fun fact about yourself.
I love cooking and trying new recipes.
Oh, me
I
too.
don't I, I don't usually have like the video up, but sometimes like when I'm in the kitchen, I'm just like acting like I have a full TV cooking show going on.
Hmm.
My husband and my son, they're in the living room looking at me like I'm crazy. But I really enjoy just trying new recipes and cooking up um, a dish that is satisfying to my family and watching their reaction to it. I'm always like, is it good? Do you love it? Do you
Hmm.
like it? And then, seeing their reaction. I also love to travel um, and adventure.
Hmm.
So, when I'm not in the midst of energy healing and spiritual life coaching, I'm always seeking some new adventure.
I love that. And let me rephrase. I don't love cooking, but I do enjoy creating new recipes, specifically from a
Hmm.
cookbook or something that I find online, and then it being pleasing for the whole family. And then I'm the same way, like, what do y'all think? Is it good?
Yeah.
And when they give me that validation, I feel good. Like it makes me oh so happy. So I can relate to you on that as well. Well, it has been
And
oh, go ahead.
and I need to make another request for some blueberry lemon bread.
Yes. Yes, I think that's my staple. It's
It
so
is.
yummy. So, so yummy. Yes, you will be getting a loaf of bread.
Thank you.
Any exciting things that you would like to share with the listeners that you have on the horizon?
Yes. So, um, Shariva and I will be continuing Sacred Conversations in 2020. Yay.
Yay.
I will be hosting Reiki training. So, for those who may be interested in learning Reiki level 1 and 2, that is on the horizon. I do have some other events that are in the planning phase as we speak. So, stay tuned. So those are just some of the professional things going on. Personally, uh, my mom and I are going on The Price is Right in March, so I'm really
What?
excited.
That is such a fun fact.
I
Oh my
know, I
gosh.
know. So I'm looking forward to that, and then also doing some vacation planning. I got to get some vacations on the books for 2020. So
Yes, I love it. I love it. Well, I am deeply grateful for you taking time out of your day to sit down and talk to me. Um, I love, and I shared this with you the other day, like I absolutely love the friendship that we have and what we're building. And it is an honor to have you on the podcast and just to share with the community the work that you're doing, why it's important. And my hope is that whether someone wants Reiki or to purchase crystals or to attend an event, like they think of Positive Life Haven, right? And I will make sure, as I mentioned, to link all of your things in the show notes so people can take a look at your website and all that jazz. But thank you so much for being on the show.
Siobhan, thank you so much. I'm honored to be here. Thank you for entrusting me not only with your personal journey, with the Reiki energy healing, but also just extending and sharing that with the women of the Be Free community. I am excited for you and all of the things that you have on the horizon for 2020. I am grateful for our relationship and connection. And then also just the network that just keeps growing
Yes.
and growing through, through our personal connection. So I'm forever grateful. Thank you.
My pleasure. And until next time, girl, be free. Hey BFFs, I want to personally invite you to BeFreeInnerCircle.com, your community for real sisterhood where women are showing up and doing the work. Whether you're still trying to figure out what you want to be when you grow up, or you need accountability to keep pushing forward to reach your goals, the Be Free Inner Circle is the community for you. You can expect curated content that will support you on becoming the best version of yourself, live office hours and Q&A sessions where we chat about things like overcoming self-doubt, building your confidence, practicing self-care without guilt, and so much more. Virtual live events from book clubs and workshops with guest speakers, and a supportive and active community of women that will encourage you, hold you accountable, cheer you on, and give you honest feedback and advice. It's the perfect place to be for women who are ready to show up, flourish, and be free. Join today at BeFreeInnerCircle.com.